Hello. We are loading. Once again, it's Half-Life ALYX. It's that time of the year, folks. Things are not looking so hot out in the real world. I need some Half-Life in my life to make things all better. Oh, I feel better already. We're live. Looks like we're live. It is 5 years before the collapse of the Citadel and death of Eli Vance. Spoilers. She's only 19 in this? It's crazy. Look at the little thing. Look at the little thing. Where are we, man? G-Man!
Hi, my name is Gabe Newell, and welcome to Half-Life ALYX. To say this product was a challenge would be an understatement. It's our first Half-Life title in over 10 years, and it's our first one in virtual reality. In addition to it being a great VR experience that still felt like a Half-Life game, we wanted Half-Life ALYX to serve players who've been waiting to find out what happens after Episode 2, and at the same time, provide an on-ramp to anyone who hasn't played a Half-Life game at all. Ultimately, whether we succeeded in any of that is up to you to decide, but hopefully, this commentary mode will give you some insight into the set of problems we faced and how we chose to tackle them. To listen to a commentary node, pick up the floating hologram of a radio headset in front of you and simply put it on your head. Once you're done listening to the commentary, you can take the radio headset off or simply put on the next one. Please let me know what you think. I can be reached at gaben@valvesoftware.com. While I'm unable to reply to all the emails I receive, I do read them all, and they're a critical part of the feedback we use to evaluate our work. Thanks, and have fun.
I will, Gabe. Thank you so much. I'll have you, Gabe. Can I just move? What if we did it? Okay. Sweet. Oh, girl.
As in the case of any Half-Life game, the first hour of ALYX must convey a lot of information to the player, hopefully in a natural and entertaining way. Players need to know who they are, where they are, what kind of world they're in, who the other important characters and factions are, and so on. At the same time, they need to learn how to actually play the game. How do they move? What can they interact with and how? What should they be trying to do, etc. Figuring out exactly what information we would try to convey in these first two levels, and how it would be conveyed, took us over 2 years of playtesting. It's tempting to try and include everything we think a player should know, but all information has a priority, and the more we include, the more chance there is that a player misses something important because they're distracted or confused by something less important. So over the next 2 levels, we'll use commentary nodes to point out some of the specific places where we grappled with conveying information to the player. In between these nodes, you'll likely be able to spot many other examples for players to find, if they're interested in paying closer attention and understanding more.
Well, this is great. I don't even have to talk.
One of the pieces of important information we struggled to convey was exactly when Half-Life ALYX is set within the series timeline. Whilst we tried to reflect it carefully in many of the world details, it was never 100% successful during playtests. Eventually, we decided it was too important to be left to the players to figure out, and so we put it in our opening text crawl. The Citadel's incomplete state did provide us with an early opportunity to reinforce the timeline visually. Half-Life ALYX takes place 5 years before the events of Half-Life 2, in which the towering Citadel represents the Combine seat of power. As we see here, however, early Combine infrastructure is a cluttered mess of cables and unusual structures sprawled all over the city, surrounding the Citadel's construction, and served as a useful indicator of the time frame. We went on to reinforce this impression in other places throughout the following level. Combine architecture tends to be abstract in scale and form, so we included some familiar visual cliches of human construction: the large external scaffolds, some distinction of floor levels, rows of small lights, and the tidying of the silhouette into more structured vertical elements, trying to strike a balance between capturing the alien nature of the Citadel whilst grounding its construction in enough familiarity to better understand its size and state. Large, sweeping vistas such as this one proved an interesting challenge in virtual reality. Their distance from the viewer means they don't benefit from stereoscopic vision the way that small close-up objects do. Because of this, the small objects on the balcony often draw the attention of the players before they've even noticed the imposing structure in the distance. If we moved the Citadel too close, it felt absurdly huge and difficult to take in. Yet placed alone on the horizon, it felt two-dimensional and flat. We found the solution in filling the space between the viewer and the distant structure with many scale references. The city itself, huge supply cables leading towards the vanishing point, large repeated Combine buildings, heavy pollution fog, careful lighting, and all the animated elements, especially the helicopter whose sound begins in the fade-in. All these were carefully composed to help draw the attention of the player to the Citadel first, before letting their attention wander to take in the details of the city, and settle ultimately on the inviting items here on the balcony.
Wait.
In these first areas of the game, we grappled a lot with the density and prioritization of the information we were conveying to the player. Playtesting showed us that players in VR were easily distracted, often due to better peripheral vision, such that they'd focus on one scene element while losing track of others. This was exacerbated in these first rooms because players were acclimatizing to being in VR, often for the first time. In addition, different players progress at different speeds. We saw some players spend 30 seconds on the opening balcony and others 30 minutes. As a result, we did a lot of iteration over the set of opening areas, each time changing what information we tried to convey and where. Initially, the video call from Eli took place in the later refuge room with the Snarkin camcorder, but players were often too engrossed in interacting with all of the detail in that room to pay attention to the conversation between Eli and Russell. We moved the video call out to the starting balcony, but there it distracted from the establishing shot of City 17 and the Citadel. It also came at a time when players were still figuring out core game elements like movement and hand interaction with the world. That collision made simple things hard, like when to show the player a movement tooltip if they immediately started the video call. Eventually, we settled on inserting the greenhouse between the starting balcony and the refuge, which allowed us to move the call to an area with a slightly obscured vista and fewer interactable objects. This avoided the distraction problems and ensured players were past the initial gameplay moments of figuring out their hardware and movement setup. It also had the bonus of allowing us to add further detail to the opening balcony and ALYX's refuge without fear of creating distractions from the video call.
Hello? Somebody there? Can I cover this whole window? Does it run out of marks? guess we can start this.
Alex, how's it looking
Hi,
up there?
Papa.
It's good, Dad. Metrocop movement is normal. Same for the Combine patrols. How's it going in the stockyard?
One combine mini reactor from a shipment of 4,000. They're never going to miss it. Here, see for yourself.
Should have got Morgan Freeman.
Not only that, someone's hacked into the Combine construction network.
Don't get greedy, guys. We're not made of time here.
1 minute and I'm out, guaranteed.
Oh, also,
What up,
as part of the
Jer?
Combine moving supplies into the quarantine zone. That place has been deserted.
Did you change your username? I don't recall your username there, bud.
Well, we'll look into it when we get back. Meet back at the safe house, baby. We'll be there soon.
I know you've been here because you're a mom.
Terrific.
You did. Is this big man? Big man. Welcome in, bud. Doom Thorson. Oh, hell yeah. What up, dude? Get that out of my hands. All right. Okay. How you doing? How you been? What's up? Doing a little art project here. Where's my green? What happened to my green? You doing good? Hell yeah. Love to hear it. It's so dirty, this glass. Ugh. That's why I can't play VR. Wait, is this smudge? Oh, yeah. Whew. Let's go. Voila. Voila. Having fun out there? No, I'm not having fun out there. I'm having fun in here. In virtual reality, not actual reality. Boo reality. That's why we're in here, man. Welcome in. Hiding from the space Nazis. But I'm good, thank you for asking. Listen to
Beyond
the
conveying
strider.
critical information about the state of the world, the first two levels of Half-Life ALYX also needed to demonstrate some of VR's strengths. Conveying a sense of scale is something VR does much better than flat screens, and our early playtests showed us that nothing quite sold that scale more than seeing a Strider up close. In addition to the visuals, to fully illustrate the scale of a Strider at close range, we needed to do a lot of work on its audio treatment. Players had strong expectations about feeling the weight, power and presence of the Strider through its movements, particularly as it stepped on the balcony the player was occupying. In order to convey this power through sound, we layered multiple sound effects, allowing us to address ranges in the audio frequency spectrum and the temporal nature of those elements separately.
Okay.
We then combined those elements in the Source 2 audio engine to control them as one sound.
He's sleeping. Now he's awake. Hey, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh, you can move this chair. Bye, guy. Oh, yeah. Oh, you want to bite my face off, don't you?
Ah, you want those fingies? You want to eat my fingies, don't you? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Don't you want to eat my fingies?
Oh, it's so cute. Alright, we gotta feed it. Come on. There's some food, bit. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. He loves that. He loves those flakes. There you go, man. Nom nom. Nom nom. Oh, kind of want to set him free, but he will kill me. It will kill me. There you go. You enjoy that.
This room, internally referred to as ALYX's Refuge, was initially the location where the Eli video call took place. However, once that video call was moved out to the balcony, this room was freed up to solve other problems. In the Half-Life series, we've always tried to ensure that there's generally enough narrative for all players to understand where they're going and why, but for players who slow down and pay attention, there's more detail that can lead to a greater understanding. With the balcony being a place to get familiar with the game's inputs, the greenhouse being where the story kicks off, and the Strider there to surprise players with spectacle, we decided that the Refuge could be a quiet moment for players, where they could discover more narrative detail in the environment. At the same time, it could be a place where they can play around a bit more now that they're acclimated to being in VR. Spending time in the Refuge is meant to bring players into ALYX's role in the Resistance and her place in the world. We wanted it to feel like a real stakeout spot, where ALYX had been cooped up for weeks or months while planning the heist, doing research on the Combine. The camcorder, snark, and whiteboards are all toys that respond to detailed interaction and reward deeper investigation, giving curious players more information about the world of City 17 and what ALYX has been doing in it.
Awesome. Awesome to the max. Now we're having fun. We're learning about the development of this incredible game.
Alex, are we good? Yep, they got the reactor. Easy peasy. I'm headed back to the safe house right now to meet Dad. Go. We'll be in touch. Stay safe.
Have you been playing anything, Jer? Have you been able to enjoy any video games?
Two critical pieces of information that we needed players to understand were simple to state, but not so easy to convey. That players were playing as ALYX Vance, not the Gordon Freeman they've played in all prior Half-Life games, and that ALYX is going to speak, unlike Gordon. These probably seem obvious to you now, but until we focused on them, it wasn't obvious to playtesters. Ensuring that everyone realized they were playing as ALYX was something we decided to hit with the biggest hammer we could, and name the product after her. But even with that, we were very careful in Eli's video call to ensure it's reinforced immediately. Olga, the character introduced here, was added to further drive it home by calling out when the player exits the elevator. Olga is the first character the player meets in person, and her dialogue here, and again ahead in the alley, is aimed at driving home the fact that she's conversing with the player, and that the disembodied female voice the player hears is ALYX speaking back. This was harder to convey in Eli's video call, because it already features Russell speaking off-screen, whereas in this scene, there's clearly no one else around in the conversational space other than Olga and the player. Without Olga, we found that, even though they had already spoken to Eli and Russell over the video call, playtesters still didn't feel like they were ALYX.
Mushroom. I love mushrooms. Talk to me.
When we started Half-Life ALYX, we were
Oh,
very curious to
Beatrice.
find out how VR would impact our music design. The Half-Life series has always used music sparingly, often leaving the ambient sounds of the world to provide the audio background. But it is a tool we like to use to highlight moments where the world state has changed in some important way. In this case, that something's riled up the Combine. In our early playtests of this scene, without music, but with many of the other visual and audio elements represented, we found some players didn't understand that they should move along, and that others became distracted by the interactive objects in the laundry. We experimented with some very simple quote-unquote action music to communicate the changing of the Combine threat level, as well as the story's intention for ALYX to get to safety, and found that players were less likely to forget their quest and move towards their goal. The music was kept simple and cinematic sounding to allow it to blend with the purposely complementary background sounds and gently start to normalize the use of music in VR in a familiar way. This success encouraged us to use the same technique in scenes with similar requirements later in the game.
Hey, Nazi. Yeah, you really have to stretch them out.
The remainder of this level is designed to continue informing the player about the world they're in, and to support the increase in the Combine's alertness. We also wanted detail to make the city feel
There goes
alive,
Doge.
something that becomes much harder later on, once the player has a weapon. This was tricky to design due to the challenge we're often faced with, the friction between narrative state and gameplay state. Here, the narrative implies that ALYX should be making her way back to Eli as quickly and quietly as possible. But gameplay-wise, we're at the start of the game, and players are still testing the limits of everything they can see and touch. Unsurprisingly, playtesting showed us that some players would dedicate themselves to following the narrative and quickly move through the area, while others would completely ignore the narrative and explore every nook and cranny. While it's tempting to simply remove all distractions in an attempt to unify all players towards following the narrative, it would send the wrong signal about the density of our world and how the game intends to reward players for exploring it. So we spent months refining this section, adding, changing, and removing elements. We tried to find the right level of narrative tension, where players felt like they should be moving along, but not so quickly that they can't stop to tinker with something. We put in enough interactive objects and narrative moments where players were always rewarded for looking around. But we designed all those distractions to end quickly, so we could encourage players to continue moving along.
Bye. Oppression. I love the smell of oppression in the morning. Ooh. Is that not true?
Whoa, wait, I just live here.
Probable anti-citizen. Keep those hands up.
Wait, don't shoot.
Area 61 in.
Papa, no.
Get back! No one! I didn't see anyone!
Dad! Hey, wait, no!
They see me loaded. Alright. I do get distracted. That man was right. The man talking about the game. There are two kinds of people. The focused and the distracted. And the loading. Oh, the loading. We love our loading, don't we, folks?
Where are you taking me? Where's my father? Hello? Damn it, where's my father?
Tell her to stop moving around back there.
I can hear you, bro. You guys are... Seems dangerous. Did I miss it? Huh?
In order to limit the possibility of motion sickness that could be induced by moving the player in a vehicle, we initially wrote this scene to have Alex wake up after the van had already crashed. Players found this underwhelming, however, since the game seemed to be needlessly holding back an exciting moment that they could have experienced for themselves. Addressing this meant that we had to tackle the technical problem of moving the player comfortably in a vehicle. In this van, and in the train at the end of the map, you'll notice that the outside world is only visible through small windows. These outside views are necessary to provide motion parallax, but the small window size ensures that the player's field of view is always dominated by the vehicle interior, which is naturally in the player's own frame of reference. This greatly reduces the occurrence of motion sickness. Aside from the parallax of the outside world, we use animated lighting and careful sound design to produce the effect of riding in a vehicle.
Alex, you there? You've got to get moving.
Russell? I've been in an accident.
I know! I caused it, so technically not an accident. You've got to get moving.
Wait, where's Dad?
He's fine.
Russell, me
Follow the
mate.
drone.
Russell's pretty great.
So, Dad's okay, right?
Yeah, well, no. To be honest, he's in huge trouble.
But...
They've still got him. He was in a separate transport.
And you saved me?
Well, yes. I had no way of knowing who was in which van, so... Yes, the result was that I saved you.
Do we know where they're taking him?
Criminal holding. And then, when they realize he's Eli Vance, to Nova Prospect. But I'm already working on a plan to get him back. You're close to my lab. Keep following the drone. We'll figure out what to do.
How do I sprint?
Where the last map was focused on conveying a lot of information about the world state to the player, this map is where we need to start the player's larger quest. That means the player must leave this map with an understanding of what's happened to Eli. And what they're going to do about it. The player also needs to meet Russell, so they have a face behind all the radio dialogue throughout the game. Finally, we need the player to collect the gravity gloves and the pistol and learn how to use them both. This is a daunting list. From experience, we know that if we cram all that into a single scene, players won't be able to remember more than a couple highlights. So this map's purpose is essentially narrative pacing. We need to draw apart the required events, separating them with enough time and space that players could ingest and remember them. At the same time, we're a little under the gun. Playtesting showed us that by now, some players have been playing for 30 minutes, and they're wondering when they're going to see some enemies.
One of the first steps the writing team took on this map was to flesh out a scene between Russell and Alex that covered all the dialogue we needed. Due to the fact the player is meeting Russell for the first time, and that there are a significant number of in-fiction events that Alex and Russell need to talk about, the scene ended up containing a lot of dialogue. We knew there was no way we could build a scene that long without boring the player, and the most important elements would be lost in the noise. One of the first tools we used to address this was the introduction of Russell's drone. It allowed us to take chunks of the dialogue from that original scene and deliver them throughout the area preceding the scene. This meant the scene itself could skip over the in-fiction preliminaries and get right to the critical goal delivery.
They're gonna kill anybody who saw it, and anybody who knows anybody who saw it, which means us and your dad.
Russell, just hang on. I'm almost there.
Go away. Yay. Talk about the playground.
In addition to delivering narrative at a consumable pace, this map needed to continue communicating the state of the world outside of the quarantine zone. We also wanted players to understand when Half-Life ALYX takes place in the larger Half-Life timeline, and to see for themselves the massive scale of the Citadel under construction. The power of the Combine is embodied in their indifference towards humanity. They've conquered Earth with little effort and are now plundering it for their own ends. They put a modicum of effort into their propaganda, but it's ultimately uncaring. Later in Half-Life 2, we see Breen's attempts to talk to humanity with more seriousness, but it's unclear whether that directive comes from the Combine or if it's just Breen's attempts to be useful to them. Meanwhile, the Combine construction is brutally efficient. The Citadel's pervasive feeder cables make no attempt to fit into the lives of the residents as the Combine drains the city of its power. Within this playground, a nostalgic nod to Half-Life 2, this enormous cable has been run right through the mural on the wall, demonstrating the Combine's total lack of interest in the history behind the city.
I lost the instant video feed. Can you see my drone? Is it okay?
Sure. Yeah, I'll be there in a minute.
Turns out aliens are assholes too. Hello. I won't.
ALYX, great. Okay, let's... Wait, my drone's okay, right?
Nope, it exploded. I'm fine, by the way.
Right, good, well, that's the main...
Russell, they've got Dad.
I know. This is bad. They're gonna find out what he knows, and then... Yeah, they're gonna kill him.
Oh, God.
But, the good news is, we've got something they don't.
Which is?
My plan to get him back.
Great. Let's hear it.
Now, pretty soon they're gonna realize that your dad is not gonna talk, and when that happens, he's off to have his brain sucked out.
Russell.
Potentially. Maybe not, though. I mean, they could just drill into his... Oh, yeah, still your dad. Right, well, what they will do is take him by train from here. This is Eli to Nova Prospect.
And if he gets on that train, that's it, right?
Not necessarily. Grab something that represents us. Okay, that's you.
I thought you said us.
Well, one of us, me, will have to stay here for this plan to work.
All right, fair enough.
Just outside, there's a second train that also leads out of City 17 through the quarantine zone.
Okay.
Both trains intersect here at Fairview Junction. You take your train,
get there before his train, and hack into the controls. That'll let me take over the system. Train comes to a halt, you deal with the Combine situation, and we get your dad back.
Sounds good. Where's the train I'm taking?
Out the back, through the yard. It's decommissioned, but I think I can hack into its controls. Oh, and get yourself a pair of Russells on the way out.
Russells?
The gloves, Alex. You know, the gravity gloves. I have a few sets through there. You can calibrate them.
Who there? What up, baby?
Got it.
We can do this, Alex.
Jeez.
You got that, didn't you, that I said we could do it? Because we're gonna do it.
Yeah, we are.
I'm with you every step of the way.
We gotta do it, folks. All right. Let's do this. Now let's listen to these folks talk about their video game. What's what? 5 of 8? 6 of 8?
Russell's laboratory is the first time the player is in the same room as another character, and it highlights one of the main challenges we face when designing choreographed scenes in VR, keeping the player and characters out of each other's space. In previous Half-Life games, we could always forcefully move the player if we really needed them out of the way. We made several attempts at finding a similar solution in VR, but found that it often made players feel deeply uncomfortable or disoriented. So instead, we designed these spaces to allow for a natural separation between the player and our characters. Where natural separators couldn't exist, we had to restrict players from moving into the character's space, removing that limitation as soon as the character had moved out of the way. Another challenge was balancing how often characters respond to player actions while delivering important narrative information. In early experiments, we allowed characters to stop mid-sentence, which allowed them to respond immediately to the player, and then continue on with their dialogue. While technically straightforward, this was incredibly difficult to execute in animation and dialogue without feeling unnatural. The combination of custom reactions necessary to cover the range of possible player interaction and the resulting return to narrative dialogue quickly multiplied out of control. Eventually, we settled on a solution where we allowed only a minimum of interactions during the important narrative delivery sections, and a wider range of responses to more complex reactions after the scene has completed. In the case of Russell, we layer subtle head facing and natural eye contact on top of his performance while he is talking with ALYX. Then, after the scene, when he is typing at the computer, he will respond to players trying to touch him or objects being thrown around.
Aw. I didn't goof around enough. Let me go back. I want to touch his face. I didn't know. No, we're not gonna go back. Okay. Yikes.
Alright, you know how this goes. There should be a bunch of junk down there. Aim at something with your hand open. You're attached. Make a grip. Registered. Now flick your wrist to bring it in. Catch it.
Oh boy. My computer is struggling. Is it doing the same thing it did last time? Oh boy. The same, right? Oh, come on. We can do it.
You've got it. Just a little flick of the wrist.
You got it.
That's it. Try again. Excellent. Now make a fist. Now catch it. You've got it. Just a little flick of the wrist. Try catching it.
There, I caught it.
Yep, you're tethered. Make a grip. Just like that. One more time.
I'm running this with some mods,
So,
which is...
yep. Perfect, we're done. Oh, wait. I almost forgot.
Alex, up here.
Been a little goofy.
Gonna need a gun. Don't worry, it's unloaded.
Oh.
It's unloaded now. Pick up the gun, Alex.
Hold on. Check balance. Hold on. Let's see, can we lower it any further?
When a player pulls an object with the gravity gloves, we use the game's physics engine to apply a launch force to that object with a trajectory that is partially influenced by the direction of the player's pull gesture. We set the object's launch velocity to result in a standard flight time from pull to catch, so the player can develop a rhythm that eventually becomes automatic. We want the object to arrive at the hand as reliably as possible, so after the initial launch, we continually apply small impulse forces along the trajectory, represented by the white arrows. Those impulses help counter gravity and compensate for collisions with obstacles along the way, while continuously steering the object toward the hand, which is itself a moving target. A generous catch range and subtle haptic feedback when the object enters that range virtually guarantees that it will end up in the player's hand every time, even if their attention is focused elsewhere. One other benefit of implementing this with physics is that we didn't need to do custom handling for an object's size, mass, or inertia, and it automatically compensated for the non-standard gravity that players encounter inside the vault.
What time today?
I feel incredible! Yes, 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 yes! I can win! I feel great! I can do this!
Let's go. What's happening? I have no idea what just happened. Why'd that sound effect play? Alright, let's check it out. Oh boy. Nobody subscribed? That's amazing. No idea. Somebody did something, and whatever you did, I don't know what you did, but thank you. I need more ammo. Can I listen to this one?
One frustration players may encounter in VR is having to physically bend down or reach out for objects in the virtual world, especially if they have limited real-world space. A common solution for this is to provide a way to bring objects to the player instead of forcing the player to go to them. We knew this would be an important feature in Half-Life ALYX, with its sprawling levels and players' desire to explore every corner of the world. We didn't want this mechanic to feel too gamey or magical, so we decided to integrate it into the fiction of the game by making it a feature of the gravity gloves, which are a natural precursor to the gravity gun of Half-Life 2. This allowed us to present the mechanic as a real physical action that's enabled by a piece of in-fiction technology. To emphasize the physicality that is unique to the medium of VR, we used a physical gesture to activate the pull instead of a button press, and then required the player to actually catch the object instead of automatically attaching it to the hand. This made the mechanic feel more natural and rooted in the fiction of the game's universe, while allowing the player to feel powerful and accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Yum. Give me a rack of half cheek. Shit, I want a rack of full cheeks.
Alright, here we go. Next stop, Fairview Junction.
Yeah, my computer is
And good luck, Alex.
getting too old for this.
Obviously, just to let you know, I am still here, though.
I know.
Alright. We're loading. Let's see if we can shut off. Is there anything we can shut off over here? Yes. Shut this off. I don't even need this, honestly. Shut that on. Oh, did it fucking crash? Are we not live? Are we live? Why is OBS? Why was OBS running? On this machine. Shouldn't have been running on this machine. Okay, that's weird. Let's get rid of that. Okay, that's actually good news because that means performance should increase. Alright, let's get back to it. I thought it would be visible for you.
Hello, Alex? We might have a problem. Probably nothing to worry about, but...
We're fine.
Did the train stop? It stopped, didn't it?
Yeah, what happened?
It's jammed. When the Combine shut down the quarantine
better.
zone, they must have tightened security.
Which means?
I can't
You're
see.
nowhere
Oh,
near
this
Fairview
way.
Junction. You're just outside the QZ. And this is as far as we get by train.
Then I'm headed on foot.
Good. I'll see if I can get you in some other way.
Oh no. Dark skies. Let's go.
I got a dead zombie here. I thought the Combine sealed up the QZ.
This one must have squirted out. I've heard
Squirted
there's trouble
out?
with barnacle spores outside the containment area, but not about fellas like this.
Probably not a one-off then.
I doubt it.
Did he just say squirted out? The zombie? Go away, brother.
Even in our earliest experiments in bringing Half-Life to VR, we found that players enjoyed exploring every nook and cranny of the environment. With the increased fidelity of VR, players not only expected to be able to interact with a vast array of objects, but they also had a strong desire to find something useful from time to time. This was so universal among testers that in addition to more searchable locations and interactive objects, we added a new resource, resin. Level designers could place this new resource in fun and interesting locations that weren't tied to game progression, rewarding players wider-ranging exploration. We also tied this new resource to a longer-term goal in the form of weapon upgrades, further motivating players to explore the environment. Deep scavenger hunts and keen observation would result in more resin to spend as a reward.
I love resources. We love our resources, don't we, folks? Ah, resources. It's what plants crave.
Internally, we refer to this type of puzzle as a toner puzzle, due to its similarity to a real-world cable toner tool that can be used to locate electrical wires in walls. The toner mechanic was conceived as a tool for designers to craft player experiences around knowing that the player had to put their head and hands in specific locations. The initial design merely required the player to use their multi-tool to push a ball of energy along a path, similar to a child's bead maze toy. While this simple design was successful at getting the player to put their head and hands in particular locations, the lack of branching meant that the player wasn't required to make any choices, nor was there any possibility of negative consequences. To address these issues, we added the rotating junction elements, which allowed for branching paths and became the player's primary means of interacting with toner puzzles. While the toner puzzles ramp up in complexity throughout the game, this first toner puzzle is designed to use a minimal number of elements to introduce players to the key ideas that power flows through wires, power can be rerouted by rotating junctions, and power has an effect on the physical world, such as turning on lights and opening gates. The sparking electrical outlet that branches down toward the floor is not strictly necessary for this simple puzzle, but it was added here to expose players to its behavior, since it was causing confusion in later puzzles when players were seeing it for the first time in more complex configurations.
Sorry, I'm having... Yeah, I should not have dialogues going over... Commentary over dialogue. It's my bad. I just need to stop moving. That is this, yeah, like the worst design, the medicine.
You were right. These are great.
Delivery method ever. What do you think about The Witcher? I'm starting to have a good time at that game. I will play more of The Witcher. Maybe even later today. From me, baby. Okay, so this is one of the mods. Talk about it. That's not in the base game. Gravity power. Like that. Hey, tell me about the lighting.
From our earliest experiments in VR, we realized how critical high-quality, high-density lighting was to conveying a sense of realism. In game development, any technology choice involves trade-offs between quality, runtime performance, and development time. For Half-Life ALYX, we chose a high-quality, high-performance light mapping solution which required a significant amount of offline preprocessing. We performed the light map preprocessing using a render farm, which could take several hours for a single map at the highest quality. And we put a lot of effort into mitigating the cost of that high iteration time for designers on the team. Specifically, we implemented a real-time approximation to the final lighting result, which allowed designers to light scenes in real time with confidence that the high-performance light maps would match their intent. Most lights in Half-Life ALYX are baked into a single term that describes distance falloff and shadowing, allowing us to change the brightness and color of lights in real time at no cost. This encoding also allows us to apply shadows from dynamic props and characters without having to render any static geometry into shadow maps. Our light maps store directional information using the popular ambient highlight direction encoding, an improvement over Valve's own radiosity normal mapping technique pioneered in Half-Life 2. This new light map encoding ensures that the bumpy surfaces can appear bumpy even when not under direct light. This blinking light source provides a good illustration of this technique, as you can perceive the surface detail even during times the light source is off.
Speak English. I don't even know what he's saying.
Oh, careful of that barnacle, Alex.
Speak Winn. I have no idea how to play Gwent. How do you play Gwent? Yeah. Articles.
Barnacles, while an iconic Half-Life creature, presented some interesting VR-specific challenges. While their tongue is intended to trap hasty or unobservant players, those caught by them often didn't realize what was happening. They would become disoriented or even motion sick as the barnacle lifted them up to be eaten. These unfortunate players almost universally died, and failed to learn what was happening even after multiple encounters. To address this issue, we created the tongue as a particle system. This allowed us to both physically simulate it as well as reliably position it for maximum visibility. If a player does get grabbed by a barnacle, the tongue always wraps right in front of their face, no matter which direction they try to look. This makes the tongue almost impossible to miss and visually guides the player's eyes up to the location of the barnacle, so they know where to shoot to free themselves. These fixation visuals that kick in as the player is being lifted not only serve to communicate the damage the player is taking, but they also help to reduce motion sickness by narrowing the player's field of view. These changes, combined with sound effects and other visuals like seeing stars and blacking out, eliminate confusion for players, and enabled us to bring this classic enemy into the world of Half-Life ALYX.
Wow. Now I understand. I want to make a Half-Life game. I really should get it. Just teach myself modding.
We got a lot of positive feedback from our initial experiments requiring players to perform
You
a
don't know
series of
either?
physical
It's
actions to reload
RNG?
the pistol. Specifically, ejecting the clip, retrieving a new clip from their backpack, inserting the clip into the gun, and chambering around.
Yep.
Players enjoyed learning and improving at this
Yep.
skill. We experimented with using a single button for both ejecting a clip and chambering around, but we found that assigning these operations to two different buttons was more interesting, even though it was more mentally taxing. In fact, it was more interesting precisely because it was more mentally taxing, as players would frequently mix up the buttons under pressure. In the early stages of the game, players would be fumbling for clips, ejecting the clips when they meant to be chambering around, and generally making a mess. To those of us observing the playtest, this looked like things had gone horribly wrong, but players themselves consistently cited this as a high point of their playthroughs. Because of the physical nature of the reload, and the skill required, players blamed themselves and not the game for the mistakes made as they were learning the reloading sequence. In this area, we provide a number of static targets in the form of barnacles for players to shoot at their own pace, increasing the likelihood that they have at least a few reloads under their belt before moving on.
So smart.
3 mags left.
Smart game design. God, I love good game design. Don't we, folks? Oh, this runs so much better. Why was I running? When we are in Witcher, we'll try to play some Gwent. I've been buying a lot of Gwent cards. Oh, the music. I'm supposed to. Here's another mod. Whoa. What do you think about this? Oh. Hold on. Go. Burr. Oh. The Witcher soundtrack is awesome. Yes, that is true. I've been discovering as I've been paying more attention to the soundtrack this time. The foot sound effects for this continuous moving mode are really good. It actually goes a decent way.
Behind this hatch?
Yeah, that's where they keep it.
I'll look around for a control panel to open it up.
Of conveying that you're actually walking, like their feet moving instead of you just floating. Goddamn, Valve is so fucking good at making games. Holy shit. What was that?
Oh.
What? Hold on. Alright, let's Kamehameha this guy. Oops. How does it work? Man. Hadouken! Hadouken! I don't know what's here. Okay. Here we go. Kamehameha? Kamehameha. there, bud. Let's get you out of the way here. Oh. How about, yeah. So we'll just, please just go away. Sorry, hit the mic there. Coming in. Nothing you do to stop me. I need a flashlight. I mean, this flick of the wrist, picking up the. I mean, I've talked about a hundred things, but it's so good, so good, you guys. Yeah,
In prior Half-Life games, while playing as Gordon, the
Good
player saw
G.
ALYX use her multi-tool to hack into Combine security systems in order to unlock doors or perform other acts of sabotage. This presented an opportunity for us to represent ALYX's hacking skills through VR-centric minigames. All of our hacking minigame designs
What
were
up,
built to leverage
Jess?
the independently tracked head and hands common to today's VR systems. We wanted to encourage players to use both hands simultaneously and move their head to create parallax to understand the spatial relationships within the puzzles. This locker hacking puzzle is based upon one of our earliest prototypes, in which the player was tasked
What
with
up,
using a
John?
tool in one hand to paint a path on a sphere held by the other hand. There was just something fun and unique about using all of the natural degrees of freedom of both hands to solve a puzzle in VR. In its simplest form, this puzzle solution is straightforward, but the difficulty gradually increases throughout the course of the game by introducing static or moving obstacles of various shapes and sizes on the sphere.
Oh boy. He sure was talking a lot about it. Let's see. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, do you like the Netflix series? I've only seen a few episodes of it. Not my thing. The thing I like about The Witcher is its impressive open world. And, fancy schmancy raps. No. Happy Saturday, everybody. Let's try to get through this.
You know, Russell, now that I'm walking into the quarantine zone, it just hit me. I don't know anything about the quarantine zone.
Well, actually, the word quarantine comes from the Italian 40 giorni, which means 40 days, the period that all ships were required to be isolated before crew could go ashore during the Black Death.
All right. Cool.
Not cool. Terrifying.
That's the control panel. They've probably scrambled the circuit. But considering no one would be dumb enough to open the hatch, it shouldn't be too hard to put back.
Freya is great as Siri. Freya, is that the... Yeah, I thought Siri and, I guess Freya and Geralt were pretty well represented in the Netflix series. Also, the... what's his name? The Barb. Dandelion? This work? I've done this 100 times. Come here, big boy. Am I doing this right? Okay, focus. Here we go. You gotta get in there, man. You really gotta just get in there. Reach out. Crispy Jeb and touch grub. Oh god, that one had a rat in it. Woo! Buttercup.
There we go, finally.
I'm gonna head in. How far is Fairview Junction?
You'll go through the old subway tunnels on your way to the train yard.
What they trying to keep in there, man?
I don't think so, which is good news because we've still got time.
Oh, that's great.
Or bad news because they've already killed him. And you don't need to move a corpse, you just bury it. Or burn it. Still there, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Is he trying to be funny? Or is he just that, like, emotionally toned down? I don't know. He is a scientist, engineer. What was I saying?
Russell, are you seeing this?
Whoa.
All right. Here we go.
Tickle, tickle. It likes it. It likes it. This one doesn't like it so much. Ah. Whoops. And we're loading. Alright, time to take a little sip. Cavill isn't playing Gerald anymore. That's the actor I was trying to remember. Cavill, man. Damn, bro. That dude could not look more like the part. Yeah, it is kind of shitty that they gave him the boot like that. Maybe gave him the boot isn't the right way to phrase it. They separated due to creative differences. Stay hydrated, folks. You need water. You're mostly made of water. Hello? Is everybody here? What am I supposed to get my bow? Person bow?
Hey, Russell. I just found a loose syringe of God knows what. Is this medicine?
Does it have a skull and crossbones on it?
I don't see one.
Probably medicine then.
Health injectors. Let's talk about them.
In our early prototypes, players could heal themselves by grabbing a Half-Life 2 health pack and pressing down on a controller button, which obviously wasn't a very interesting VR interaction. During the development of Half-Life ALYX, the Counter-Strike team added health injectors into CSGO as part of the new Danger Zone game mode they were developing. When we saw this, we felt that an injector would work well as an intuitive healing item in VR as well. Players would press a button to arm the injector as a way of indicating their intent to use it. This prevented unintentional use of the injector and gave us an opportunity to showcase how physical the interaction was going to be via haptics, animation, and sound. Some testers even initially responded with dread over the fact they were going to have to use a needle on themselves and looked away when performing the injection action. We also had to create approximations of the player's arms and body, as playtesters all had their own preferences for where they wanted to apply the injection. We even added the ability to inject into the head, since so many players tried to do it just to see if it would work.
I had no idea you could inject yourself in the head. How does it work? I've totally forgotten. I mean, I know it took damage to him.
Do you hear that?
What is that?
Zombies.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's the way we gotta go.
No shortcut?
Yeah, that is the shortcut.
We had to ensure that players would become proficient at reloading their pistol during the early levels of the game, or later encounters in the game would be overly difficult. The prior map contained only static targets in the form of barnacles. Players could engage the barnacles at their own pace, but there were enough of them that players would need to reload at least a few times. This first live zombie is locked behind the chain link fence and cannot reach the player until the player opts into the encounter by shooting the lock on the door. The placement of zombies in the upcoming section of the game is designed to require plenty of reloading to ensure that the player builds up this skill.
Oh man!
The barnacles on our side. It's not though, obviously, so don't walk under them.
I want it. It's not working. Why can't I have it? What's up, Sweet Blaze? Sam Squanch. Sam Squanch. Got it. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Ready for some crouching?
Virtual reality provides the opportunity to add physicality to gameplay, but this needs to be balanced against player fatigue and accessibility. For example, we experimented with a low ceiling in this area, requiring players to crouch the whole time that they made their way across the tops of these train cars. Playtesters did not enjoy having to crouch for so long, so we raised the ceiling.
Thank you. That's actually very nice. Oops. Taking a little flack. Oops. I'm gonna leave you alive. Tell the story. Tell everybody how it came through. Oh shit. Never mind.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, be careful.
You okay there, bud? Here, I got some medicine for you. Just what the doctor ordered. Oh, mental health. Via headshots, baby. Oh. Dr. Jeb is in session.
The breakable glass panels in Half-Life ALYX are yet one more system designed to convince players that they are present in a living, breathing world. The panels detect the position of an incoming impact and procedurally generate new, smaller glass panels in a radial pattern around the impact position. These new panels can then break into smaller panels themselves, and so on. We found that players would often break glass panels accidentally, then spend time testing just how interactive they really were by trying to break them more, eventually realizing that the glass really did shatter at the appropriate location. At one point, we experimented with building special puzzles out of breakable glass, but in the end we found the glass to be more appropriate as a passive interactive element in the world, one that reacts in a satisfying way to a variety of impacts, from zombie melee attacks to incoming gunfire, or any other physical interaction in the game.
Yo, glass. Nice. This is still enjoyable. Hey, buddy, come break this wood for me, would you? Give me a little pop. Oh. Oh. You got the tripod. Yeah, it is scary. It was too scary for my wife to play. I have to play it for her because it's so scary. Come on through, man. Come on, man. I'll help you. I got something for you. Come here. No, you come here. I don't want to waste bullets on this. Oh, I just... Enjoy the natural taste of water. Wow. You gotta pay for that. How long before the water wars, man?
Alex, I think that's a combine fabricator. Put something in it. I want to see how this thing works.
Got it. Will it work on the Russells?
No, but it should fix up that pistol nicely. Good thing, too. I gave you one of my lesser guns.
Thanks, Russell.
Well, you know, in case it doesn't make it back.
Tell you what, Russell. If I die, I owe you a gun.
You owe me a gun anyway. That wasn't a gift. That's my gun.
Weapon
I
upgrades
do like
are a new
Russell.
feature
And
for
the
Half-Life
writing is always
franchise.
good.
And fictionally, this mechanic paired well with Alyx's tinkering nature. We approached this design challenge first by thinking about
Stay
what sort of
hydrated.
upgrades could be meaningful and also provide additional value to players without removing established interactions. With limited resin to spend, the upgrade system also provided an avenue for players to personalize and invest in their favorite weapon, or streamline an interaction on another weapon, increasing its value to them. For example, the reflex sight still requires players to physically aim, but it improves the feedback on exactly where their shot will hit, and exposes previously hidden enemy weak points. While some players enjoyed this feedback and new targeting opportunities, others didn't and would instead focus on upgrades that suited their style of play. This allowed players to spend their limited resin on upgrades they cared about the most. Another aspect of weapon upgrades that we focused on was not necessarily obvious when we first started to design and test combat in VR. Due to the more physical nature of combat in VR, it can really push on the mental and physical capacity of certain players,
as they're required to utilize both their hands and move their head to take in the environment dealing with enemies. While this is a very natural experience, there's also a lot going on at any given point with reloading and combat. As we observed players in some of these more intense combat situations, we started finding opportunities to allow some upgrades to reduce the number of times a physical interaction was required, or reduce the complexity of a particular interaction. The autoloader on the shotgun is a good example. When added to the shotgun, the normally slow, methodical action of feeding shells into the gun is replaced with a far simpler, faster interaction of slapping the shells into the autoloader before they get automatically fed into the gun. This allows players to look around, focus less on the gun while reloading, and take in more of what's going on around them.
We're fine. Bye-bye, Jer, because... Sorry. I just saw your message, Jer. Listening to the man talk. Take care. Have a good one. Good luck.
I don't have enough resin for any of this stuff.
Well, you know what they say about resin, Alex.
No, what do they say about resin, Russ?
Jeez.
Look for more resin.
Salvage.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, that's the one. Look for more resin.
Computer's being... Computer's being... Oh god, I can hear it. What is happening? There's nothing else running, man. Oh boy. Sorry about the low frame rate here. Yikes. Does not like this room. Oh boy. Let's see if we can slowly, gingerly. Let's do a restart, huh? Let's do a game restart. Maybe that instance of the application still got some weird memory residue from the OBS running on this machine for some strange reason. And we'll launch it again. Stay hydrated, folks. For fuck's sake, you need water to live. Oh man's gonna look at me. Now it's crashing. Well, we tried, folks, didn't we? We sure tried. Let's see if it fixes itself. Let's put on some Half-Life music. The PC Master Race. Yeah. Yep. Good old Sanford and Sons. Alright, it's so weird because internally the game is actually running, but it's just the part where it's supposed to display on my desktop that's not working. Hang on while window reports. No, don't report me, you motherfuckers. Oh, my eyes. Yeah, hopefully this time. Huh? Yeah? Oh. Ooh. I think we're good now. Nope. Still terrible. I'll have to get into the, maybe it's the mods. I should turn the mods off. Not even using them, honestly. Have I not found more resin here? I guess we should probably move on if I don't have the resin. Moving on.
At the beginning of the Half-Life ALYX project, we had the expectation that players would want to take a break after 30 to 45 minutes, since that's what we were seeing with the lab and other small-scale VR experiences available at the time. Because of this, we designed the pacing of the game's levels around play sessions of that duration. Over the course of development, however, the game itself included more downtime between intense combat encounters, and the comfort of the new crop of HMDs improved significantly. In fact, as the game progressed, we found that players were happy to play for hours on end. At the end of a playtest, players would often remark that this was the longest they had ever played VR in a single session.
That is so true. Man, it's like I play tested this. Okay, now you fucked up. Okay, now let's try to pull off. Oops. Stuck. Get off the boat. Oh, what is happening? Oh.
Alex? Alex!
I'm an eyeball. Okay. Goofing around. Yeah, man, it's still good. Still good. Too bad my PC's no good. No more. I do love the sound design here. What is banging on the pipes and where? Oh, looks so good too. Even this is like low fucking fidelity. Barely it runs on my computer. This came out like 3 years ago, didn't it? Oh, come on. Oh wait, that's not cable, is it? No. Oh my god. Is this thing broken? Whoa. Sorry, I think chat might have broken.
Nice shooting, ALYX.
Thanks. You know, for all your talk about what a lesser goddess is, this thing isn't half bad.
I don't know why I'm wasting bullets like I got him. To waste. Okay, everything's fine with shit. Everything's fine. Like, scenes like this just really look so convincing. The depth, space. Feels like you're right there, man. A lot cooler than I'm not.
Until this point in the game, players have only seen headcrabs attached to the heads of zombies. This led playtesters familiar with headcrabs from prior games to anticipate encountering them on their own. We decided to play up this anticipation by foreshadowing the first headcrab encounter with a headcrab that drops out of a vent before disappearing, as well as headcrab sounds in the environment, including a threatening headcrab sound coming from the partially boarded up doorway ahead.
Where to go? Probably only one of those. Okay, two of those.
Oh man. Hydrate. That's right. Stay hydrated, folks. Keep your minds hydrated. 1 minute. Where's the bow?
Heard anything about Dad, Russell?
No. Radio silence since he got on the train.
Damn it.
Well, the good news is he's probably fine.
How do you know that?
Because they're taking him to Nova Prospect to torture him. That's the torture place. So they're hardly going to torture him before they get there. So he's fine. Logically speaking.
I don't even know what my health is. Why did I waste that? Can you ask? Because I could. It's funny. Very funny. Ooh, you know there's some resin in there, right? Oh, ammunition. Where'd it go? Main character coming through. Ah. Did I relaunch this with commentary? Ah, it's so sad.
Russell, are you seeing this?
Possibly. Are you seeing floating garbage?
It looks like it's just cardboard.
Right. Well, seems harmless.
Yeah. Weird, though.
Need a new computer now. Oh, there's one. Yeah, that'll do. Damn. Look at this thing. Oh, shit. Yikes. Damn it.
What is that?
It's the green wall lady. Oh.
There are many musical themes and motifs used throughout the game to represent unspoken aspects of the story and lore. For example, the Vortigaunts play an integral role in the subplot of the game, and we chose to use music to subconsciously communicate the repeating nature of their role both in the timeline of Half-Life ALYX and in the larger timeline of the Half-Life saga. Within the music in this scene, you'll hear variations of themes used throughout the timeline of the game, from the very first sounds of the game up to the finale in the vault. Variations of these motifs represent the imprisoned chanting of the Vortigaunts,
Going arch.
the extraction of their energy to confine the G-Man,
Space baby.
as well as historically familiar sounds representing the vortessence itself.
Pick the graphs, man. They rounded them up, put them on ships, planes. God damn, dude. It's too real.
There are two layers to the markings on the walls in this area. The square and dot patterns, that are the functional elements of the environmental puzzle, and the mural representing the Vortigaunts' interpretation of the events of the Half-Life saga. For the first few years of development, this area only contained the dot patterns supporting the perspective puzzle, but as we fleshed out the rest of the level, we found that playtesters responded especially positively to the Vortigaunts' wall markings leading up to the hideout. It was at this point that we realized that this area could serve as a canvas for our Vortigaunt's artistic magnum opus. To do this, we organized the dot patterns into a sort of swirling star field behind the Vortigaunt's art. The imagery itself, which was inspired by petroglyphs and other traditional rock art, portrays many significant events from the Combine invasion, painted hurriedly by the injured Vortigaunt, almost as if he was trying to capture what fleeting memories he still had of the vortessence from which he had been severed. The fact that Vortigaunts have a complicated relationship with time gave us a lot of leeway in terms of drawing this as a strict, linear timeline. For example, you may notice that the Vortigaunt uses contemporary Combine troops as shorthand for Combine invasions from the past, or that the timeline is just generally hazy. A little from the past, a little from the present, and a little looking forward to the future events of Half-Life 2.
The Free Man. I don't think I've quite looked at this mural the first time through as I am now. It's really cool. These are the Fricky Dicky worms. Space baby. You gotta open its head up and shoot a rocket into it. It's the future. It's the future, man.
Whoa. More floating cardboard.
Okay, yeah, this is... Let's turn off, we're gonna turn off mods, see if that improves stuff, because this is rough. This is rough. You're not gonna rough? No. Go to main menu, we're gonna turn off some mods, and we'll see if that helps us out a little bit. Just a little bit. I don't know if I turned anything off, actually. Okay. Oh boy.
Heard anything about Dad, Russell?
No. Radio silence since he got on the train.
Damn it.
Well, the good news is he's probably fine.
How do you know that?
Because they're taking him to Nova Prospect to torture him. That's the torture place. So they're hardly going to torture him before they get there, so he's fine. Logically speaking.
Yep. Continues. Okay, this automatically seems bad, but that's what I said last time too. Oh my god, so much better.
Possibly.
Oh, thank goodness. This playthrough is salvaged.
Cardboard.
Right. Well, seems harmless.
Yeah. Weird though.
Because there's no way I could keep playing with that terrible performance. Okay.
What is that? Whoa. More floating cardboard.
Now what? Looking at it. Looking at it. Which one is it? Second one from bottom. Second one from top right, bottom left. Okay. Boop. And boop. Oh. Oh. So glad I turned off the mods. I was starting to depress me. I was like, oh man, am I gonna have to not finish this playthrough?
Alex, you alright? What's wrong?
I'm fine, Russell. What's up?
I'm losing your signal. Alex? Alex? If you can still hear me, keep heading in the same direction and try to get above ground.
Russell? Russell?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Whoa. This is weird.
We underwater? Look at their thing. Clang, clang, clang goes the trolley. What's up, bud?
The ALYX fans. You received my messages.
I did?
Come, enter.
Okay, thanks.
You are welcome.
Bro is
What's our
set,
Viragon
dude.
doing here?
Oh,
Cooking.
Right, but I mean in general.
I have a brain injury.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
My
Dad.
brain is injured.
Yep.
That's terrible,
Ow.
and I hope. Look, I'm actually pretty busy looking for my father. Eli Vance.
Vance. Yes.
The Combine have him, and I really do need to get moving.
The Combine. Yes. Do not go yet. I must show you something.
Look, I appreciate it.
This way.
I can't stick around.
It is important.
I know, I'm sure it is.
The ALYX Vance must go this way anyway.
Okay.
Oh.
Sure, he'll be fine. They're usually very nice folk.
The Combine and other akin. Like the Eli and the ALYX Vance will free them.
I would help. I really would, but the Alex Vance is honestly very busy saving her dad.
You will not save him. He is dead.
What?
Or he will be.
Is or will be?
It is a matter of perspective. But ALYX Vance alone cannot prevent his fate.
Look, thank you for everything, but I really have to go.
freaking
I'm
me
sorry,
out,
but
man.
I really don't have time for riddles.
No riddles. The Combine drilled here. I am severed from the vortessence. I am alone in my head.
Sucks
I'm sorry.
to be. Oh, man.
Look, if I can, if I run across your friends, I will see what I can do.
You have saved my kid.
I haven't.
Then you will. Courage, ALYX Vance.
Oh, man. Ah. But I wanted to.
Your mission begins, ALYX Vance.
I wanted to go back there. I wasn't done exploring, damn it.
Through there, ALYX Vance.
Should I be breathing those in?
You must go.
What are we doing, man?
I will help the ALYX Vance. Look to the northern star
Why?
for guidance.
Okay, thanks. Are you done helping?
I am not. Here. Sustenance.
I'll eat it later. Thanks for the help.
You will be welcome.
Oh, man. Good people though, they're just a little weird. A little different than us. Slavic in nature. Alright, what time is it? We got a little more time. Is or will be? That is the question.
Alex! Alex, the signal's back. Can you hear me? Are you okay?
Russell, I'm good. How's Dad?
They've got him on the train. He's on the move. You've got to find Fairview Junction before they get there.
I'm working on it.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
So anything happened when you cut out?
You're not gonna believe this, but I ran into a Vortigaunt.
A Vortigaunt? What was he doing down there?
Hiding. I think he escaped from the Combine.
What did he say?
You ever meet a Vortigaunt? He said crazy Vortigaunt stuff.
We spend time on every game design element thinking about how the player is expected to learn of its existence and understand its details. Some design elements are so important that the game experience will break if the player doesn't understand them, while others may just be fun diversions or rewards for exploring the game's systems. Any required element will require work on our part to teach the player. In Half-Life, we try to teach elements in ways that feel as natural as possible, entwined within the core flow of the game so that you don't feel like the game just stopped to teach you something. We don't always succeed, but the attempts usually lead us somewhere interesting. In this case, we need to teach the players about the armored headcrab. The key elements that we want them to understand are that the headcrab is invulnerable on the top, but has a weak spot on its belly. We would also like the player to learn that the headcrab exposes its weak spot right before it jumps, but this isn't required. The player can fall back to shooting the weak spot as the headcrab scrambles around after a leap.
It's easier when it's on its back like a doodly bug.
Teaching design elements of enemies is always tricky.
Charlie
Players have
Brown.
shown us for years that it's really hard to learn something new while under attack. We've also seen that invulnerability, in particular, is a difficult enemy feature to teach. If players are blasting away at an enemy, they are often not paying close attention to the impact feedback. If the enemy is vulnerable in some areas and not others, players may kill the enemy with a spray of gunfire, not realizing that some of their shots did nothing, while others hit critical weak spots. So when we approached the armored headcrab training, we knew we'd need to do significant work. The first step was to avoid placing the player under duress by containing the enemies inside this wire fence. Next, we placed headcrabs at eye level facing the player, exposing their bright, pulsing weak spot. If the player shoots one immediately, they are rewarded with a unique death effect where the headcrab explodes into chunks. This effect is designed to show the player that they did something special to kill this headcrab, as opposed to how they've been killing headcrabs up until now. There are a couple of other pieces in the setup here that are important. A second headcrab is placed right behind the lock the player must shoot to enter the cage, encouraging the player to notice the weak spot and try shooting it. 2 more headcrabs are loose in the cage, scripted to repeatedly attack invisible points on the wire fence. This ensures they are constantly demonstrating the way they expose their weak points before they leap, and this allows players to practice hitting the weak spot from behind the safety of the fence.
With any section of natural entwined training, we've observed that there's rarely any one thing that succeeds in teaching all players, nor do 100% of players leave with the perfect understanding we'd like. If player understanding is absolutely critical, we have to build a more bulletproof gate that ensures the player demonstrates understanding before moving onwards. In fact, we do just that when the player acquires the shotgun in the next area. In the case of the armoured headcrab, however, playtesting showed that we could afford to let a few players through with less than perfect understanding,
This section gave them enough of a chance to experiment that they got a sense of what was going on, and further encounters with armoured headcrabs solidified it. There was still a lot of iteration on the visual design of the headcrab to further drive home its armour and weak point, and we also added a custom response to shotgun fire. In that case, the armoured headcrab flips over and wriggles for a second, exposing its weak point. This was added to reduce the resource loss we saw happening in players who were still struggling to understand the armoured headcrab mechanics after they acquired the shotgun.
Oh.
One challenge we always face when giving a new weapon or tool to the player is ensuring that they collect it before moving on. In these cases, we try to establish some kind of gate that the player can only get past using the new item. This can be especially tricky in cases where we are giving the player a new tool that doesn't fundamentally change their capabilities, as in the case of the shotgun, where almost everything that can be done with the shotgun can also be done with the pistol. In contrast, the pistol gate, where the player had to acquire the pistol before being able to shoot the lock off of the fence back at Russell's lab, was simple to design and execute. For this shotgun gate, we not only needed to ensure that the player collected the shotgun, but also that they learned how to load it before proceeding. We playtested a number of approaches to teaching the reload mechanics during combat, and repeatedly found that it didn't work. When faced with learning a new, complex task under duress, players would retreat back to using their pistol, which was a known quantity to them.
Go down there.
Once the player has collected the shotgun, they are only halfway through the shotgun gate. Next, they need to learn how to reload it. To drive home the necessity for the player to learn how to use this new weapon, we added an incoming threat, using a variety of audio and visual effects to sell it. While our goal is to make the player feel like they have a limited amount of time, the time pressure is entirely fake, and everything proceeds based on the player's progress in loading the shotgun for the first time. Once the shotgun has been loaded, a short timer starts, after which zombies burst through the walls. If the player happens to look at the walls before that timer is up, we abort the timer and introduce the zombies. The combination of a timer and a look trigger is a common trick used in places where we'd like the player to see a neat visual moment, but we can't wait forever or the game simply won't progress. The breaking of the walls by the zombies is the final step in opening the shotgun gate. Having new enemies open the way forward when they enter the player's space is a fairly tried and true method, but it's never one we're particularly happy with. It's always a bit too convenient and lacks agency on the player's part. But in a setup like this, which contains a novel puzzle, a new weapon, and its associated mechanics, plus an ambush, we're already dealing with a lot of design complexity packed into a small space, and further additions would complicate the scenario even further.
I love this gun.
Last 2 shells.
Bang, bang goes the trolley. Yeah, shotgun is where it's at. It is kind of like a shitty shotgun, honestly. This kind of looks like it's made out of aluminum. But it got the job done. Sure got the job done. Dead.
I'd never survive a jump from this height.
No, absolutely not. Why? Were you considering it?
That's fun. That's good game and writing. Synergy, bro. Where are we going now? Where's the shotgun gate?
The visual design of the shotgun included a number of challenges. Shotguns in games are generally powerful, and we communicate that power with bulk. As a result, they're big and held in 2 hands. But our experiments with 2-handed VR weaponry didn't reach a level we were satisfied with. When holding a 2-handed object in real life, the object itself provides a physical connection between the 2 hands, and that constraint allows players to stop thinking about it consciously, in addition to providing physical feedback. In VR, without that connection or feedback, we found that players had to keep maintaining their own internal sense of how they were holding their 2-handed weapon, or they dripped their hands into positions that were hard for us to reconcile. As a result, our 2-handed weapons required players to play along more than we liked. Since one of our core goals with Half-Life ALYX was to allow players to fully immerse themselves by ceasing to think about what they were doing in real life, we decided to focus on single-handed weapons, including the shotgun.
Okay, that's why it looks like it weighs 5 pounds, made out of soda cans.
Our initial instinct with the shotgun design was to use a regular real-world shotgun, but modified, with a sawn-off stock and barrel so it would seem less cumbersome when held with one hand. This approach always resulted in the handle being at the rear of the weapon, and we ran into the problem where the weapon always felt front-heavy. But obviously, the VR controller in your hand wouldn't reflect that, leading to a disconnect between what you were feeling and what you were seeing. Placing the handle more centrally and underneath the weapon helped avoid this disconnect. This implied centre of mass wasn't really maintained well as the weapon accrued upgrades throughout the game, but the first impression was the most critical. Since we were going with an odd form, we were keen to use common shotgun visual elements wherever we could to help with player recognition and to ground the design in some reality. One element we borrowed was a common shotgun tube magazine that stores shells horizontally in line with the barrel, and we were just able to fit the gameplay requirement of 6 shells without the overall length becoming unwieldy. You can see the effort we had to go for further shell capacity in the design of our autoloader upgrade. Our first reloading mechanic was based on the realistic insertion of 1 shell at a time. Playtesters found this to be overly tedious, although we did receive some positive comments that it made them feel like an action movie star. The simple addition of allowing the players to insert 2 shells at a time solved this issue, allowing us to keep the good part of the design whilst losing the bad. We were keen to reinforce the whole action movie star thing, and experimented with some big gesture the player could do to finalise reloading. The inclusion of a pop-up mechanism allowed us to add an additional step to the reload that further separated it from our other weapons, yet had a satisfying flick of the wrist to complete the action.
shells.
Oh. Health is good. What are we gonna upgrade? The shotgun, of course, right? Laser sight. Double shot. Auto loader. Grenade launcher. It would look cool with the laser sight, though. Double shot, not even interested. Auto loader, that's fun. Gotta get a laser. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that should come in handy.
How do you turn it off?
Out of shells. In this continuous mode, I do like that they let you jump or blink. As a backup. If you kind of want to sprint, so to speak. Shotgun shell. Get your shotgun shells. Okay, yeah, we need to wrap this up soon. I'm getting extremely hungry. Whoa. This is new. I don't remember this at all. I must not have wasted my money on it. That's a good shotgun laser set. Interesting. I've never seen that before. That's cool. Alright. Okay, let's back where we started. Brick. That could have hurt if I didn't catch it. Alright, let's listen to one more developer commentary. And probably save right here. The Darkness Gate.
As with the shotgun and the pistol, we needed a gate for the flashlight to ensure the player couldn't proceed without it. We tried a number of designs around the moment where the player collected the flashlight, but they all ended up being about the player picking up an object, and not specific to that object being a flashlight. Given that the flashlight's primary function is to provide light, we felt the gate needed to be an area of darkness. We also really wanted the player to be excited to get the flashlight, and that meant they had to experience darkness before collecting the flashlight. This turned out to be an interesting challenge because we already had many poorly lit areas prior to this, and now we needed an area that was so dark that players would correctly interpret it as a gate. Our initial implementation was simply to ensure there were no lights within the hallway. Unfortunately, playtesting immediately showed that wasn't enough. Some VR headsets have extremely low black levels, and on those headsets, enough light bounced in from this lit area to enable players to move forward. In addition, our low ground fog provided just enough contrast in the dark hallway for players to make out the scene and stumble through it. Even once we removed fog and bounce light in this area, we saw yet other ways that players tried to move forward. Some players would fire their pistol repeatedly, using the muzzle flash as a strobing light source. Others would use the teleport targeting UI to probe the room, because at that point in the project, it had a small light source attached to it. In the end, we disabled muzzle flashes inside the hallway, and the teleport UI lost its light. The final step was the addition of some dialogue from ALYX, commenting on the darkness and her need for a light source. This was aimed at solving a perceptual problem. Up until now, our game has taught players that their goal is to continue moving forward. And any time that forward progress is blocked, it's because there's something in the local area that needs solving. Given that structure, it's entirely rational for players to do everything they can to find some way to see in the darkness ahead. ALYX's dialogue is aimed at telling the player that the game has recognized their attempts to move forward here, but the solution lies elsewhere. Subsequent playtesting showed us that this dialogue, coupled with the brightly lit area containing zombies off to the right, helped tug players past the darkness entrance and on towards the flashlight.
Who was talking? Yeah, that was the dev. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name. Yeah, I have a developer commentary on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, I'm trying to. See if I can pull the headphones off.
As with the shotgun and the pistol, we
Bill
needed a
Cole.
gate for the flashlight to ensure the player couldn't proceed without it. We tried a number of designs around the moment where the player collected the flashlight, but they all ended up being about the player picking.
I think we saved. We did. Let's go to main menu. So, dinner time. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jericho because you switched your name again? Let's see, who else was with this? Is there anybody else? Thank you, Gabe Newell, for reading my emails. Thank you, AD, of course. Yeah, have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll see you this weekend again. Maybe not. We'll see. Good luck.